Hello, and welcome again to J Builds and NPC of the Week. I know it's been a little while since I did this. I just been having kind of a creative slump lately, and hopefully I'm coming out of it as good things start to happen. I'm debt free. I'm having some good marketing for better backstories lately, and I hope to have some more very soon. And we'll just keep getting the word out. I'm thinking about doing another Kickstarter. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but the half the fun is coming up with it. Some people have said I should do a version 2 of the basic deck, basically more genre neutral options, and I really like that idea. It's just getting the creative juices flowing to actually build 60 more cards that can fit into any genre is kind of tricky. But then there's also the idea of various genre packs, which used to be called booster packs, but I think genre packs works a little bit better. And these would be extra categories you could shuffle into your deck for cyberpunk or space opera or horror or supernatural or fantasy and sci-fi, like the current mystical and technical boosters that already come in the big bundle box. And if you don't have your big bundle box, go to Better Backstories and get it now. But today we just make an NPC completely from scratch. So let me shift over my screen here. So I've got the basic deck laid out, and I'll give it a quick shuffle. And I'm basically going to lay out 5 cards, come up with a random backstory for a character, and we will just see what genre evolves. Last time we ended up doing kind of a 19th century character. This time it could be fantasy. It could end up being a superhero. You just never know. And then we'll write up a story. We'll see what kind of a name arrives, and eventually at some point I'll get it animated or illustrated by our resident amazing artist Blas Barros, who did the art for the box and for the Kickstarter, and of course he did the logo as well. So he does all of my D&D characters, and I've been getting him to do more of my superhero and sci-fi characters as well. So let's give these a shuffle. The basic deck, or the big bundle box, is perfect for shuffling, and I highly recommend that you use a bridge shuffle versus a side shuffle, because when they come out of the box, the cards are in category order. So we got all the life cards, all the mystery cards, all the change cards are side by side. So you do a little side shuffle, it's not going to mix them up. So you got to give it a good bridge shuffle. According, if you listen to Percy Diaconis, you should shuffle at least 12 times from a fresh deck to get a good shuffle. But if your deck is already somewhat shuffled, then it's okay to just do 5 or 6. So we'll give it this one more shuffle. And cutting isn't really as important. It's not bad. Cutting just makes sure that whatever card incidentally ends up staying on top isn't the first card, because sometimes when you shuffle that first 2 or 3 cards, they always kind of stay near the top. So we'll give this a cut. Okay. Make sure which way I'm flipping here. Since the cards do have a direction to them, I have to make sure I flip them the right direction. Okay. So 5 cards. Here we go. Boom. Okay, our character right off the bat is famous. They've done something really interesting. They're trying to fulfill a legacy. Oh, but they have an enemy. Ooh, it's already getting good. They received a gift and one more card. Let's do some shifting here. And they have an interesting hobby. Okay. NPC of the week, always random. You never know what you're going to get. So as we can see, some of these cards are just straight up flavor text. So for famous, you did something that gained wide acclaim in your homeland. It may have come from natural talents, advanced training, or just a luck of the draw. You're easily recognized in that area. Okay. And the gift, of course, is you received a large sum of money or a special item from an older family member. They may have been close to you, or you don't know who they are. So these are 2 youth events, I guess we could say, and the hobby is probably from lifetime childhood exploits, of course. Now, these two don't need any additional stuff. I mean, yeah, we'll kind of come up with something off the top of our head, maybe even flipping another card to get more specific, like that famous, what are they famous for? Well, we could use another card to try to tell us. But we see we have our 3 cards with charts. So this is a chart from 1 to 10, and there's different ways you can do it. So we can pick one. We can roll a 10-sided dice, which I have a couple handy here, or we can flip another card face down, and there's random numbers on the back, and it can tell us which one we want to do. So we're actually going to do all 3. So I'm going to start off with that hobby, and I'm going to flip the next card face down, number 10. So it tells us that that hobby is writing or storytelling. Yes! So we've either got a bard, a shaman, a novelist, but it's just a hobby, so it's not necessarily anything they do professionally. So that's important to remember. But that's funny. Okay. So for the enemy, we're going to roll a 10-sided die here, and we get 10 again. A specific race or species or from another country. So my character's enemy is an entire species. Okay. Okay, so okay, so for legacy, this is you have taken on somebody else's dream. So, you know, it could be a family member who died, or they were injured, or they're too sick to fulfill this goal. So I am gonna go with a grandparent. So a grandparent had a goal, never quite completed it, and I'm gonna help them out with that. So let me just pull out an 8 from the bottom of the deck, so we've got that marked and I don't forget. Oh, well, you know, a little bit better that. We'll just use one of these. So number 8, so I don't forget. Okay, so where to start? Well, they have to have had a relationship with this grandparent, so let's say they were raised by that grandparent. Okay, so how do writing in the hobby, where do the parents fit in? I'm feeling refugee. I'm feeling refugee. Okay, so let's say, and we need. I'm just going to use a random name. We'll just use Jane, just to start. That can be changed later, but I like having a proper name when we start out. Jane was born during a time of war. Her homeland was under siege, and her parents fled shortly after her birth. However, they Okay. So Jane was born during a time of war. Her homeland was under siege, and her parents fled shortly after she was born. After her birth, after she was born. However, they were caught in a crossfire along the way, and her mother was killed. Her father, injured alone, barely made it to the port, where he boarded a ship back to his own home country. Homeland. Okay. So we haven't even got to any of the cards yet. It's just, you know, we basically just went off of a gut instinct that I had initially to have some type of a refugee. And since none of the cards lent themselves specifically to a birth event or anything specific about the parents, except for this gift, possibly, just kind of made that up on my own. So... So this kind of leads into that enemy card, because we can see here that there's definitely a racial or species, you know, I haven't decided if we're doing this in space yet, a racial issue. These aggressors are out to maybe defeat or destroy everybody of a particular heritage or culture. So that will be the enemy that she's constantly going to have to be looking out for. So we'll just tap that card a little bit. Growing up, Jane heard stories from all different cultures and became enamored with both the real and fictional stories. Let's change this up. Real and fictional stories from different cultures. As soon as she could, she started writing her own tales and spinning her own tales. Okay, so I need something. What does the grandfather do? So I'm just going to flip another card, and we'll see. Friends. So this, I got the friends card, but that doesn't really help me with like a job. Let me look for another card, and best friend become lovers. Okay, so well that's good that the grandfather and the grandmother were best friends and they became lovers, but still it doesn't tell us what we'll do. So we'll check another card. Devotion. Both parents are very religious. Okay. So temple. So the grandfather is a priest or a religious individual of some sort. His legacy Ooh, plot thickens. This would be a great character at this point. I love it. Okay, so let me back up. So growing up, Jane heard real and fictional stories from all different cultures. As soon as she could, she started spinning her own tales, trying to impress customers outside of her father's temple, travelers. She told her tales. He told her tales as well of his time as a wandering adventurer, and one particular story always caught her attention. Sometimes he would speak of a great devil his party had sought to defeat, but would change the subject before finishing the story. It wasn't until she was a teenager that she was able to confront him about this tale and get to conclusion. Her grandfather finally admitted that he that they had failed in their mission, and he believed that the devil may even be responsible for the rise of the empire that destroyed her mother's homeland. Okay, so that knocks out the hobby and the legacy. Oops, 8. So here we get the famous part. She was well known for her fantastic tales. Jane was a local favorite with children and travelers. Some claimed to have heard of her storytelling abilities from many towns away. So we got that one knocked out. Even set to collecting her tales into a book. All to share. Oh God, I am too good sometimes. Okay, so we are going to go with recently messenger arrived with a curious package for Jane. Contained within Here we go. So she was well known for her tales in the local area, and eventually the word of those tales traveled far enough to reach wherever her mother is hiding out, and she sent a package with a map and a necklace to prove who she was, and she claimed that she'd been held prisoner and not actually killed, and she'd only recently escaped, but heard of her daughter and sent this token and is urging her to come to their aid. And that's, I mean, I think that is such a great setup for an NPC to come to the party asking for help, or to ask that the party investigate the situation to see if it's actually real. It could go any number of directions. It can easily be placed in many situations. I still see it as kind of a fantasy realm, but that's fine. Fantasy is perfectly fine, and it could easily be tweaked for modern or sci-fi. You know, you just make these different planets, and you know, it's easy peasy. I think for a name, having trouble with a name. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. Drop it in the chat. And again, she's not even I don't have a specific race involved here. I mean, assumed human, but it could be anything. She could be of a unique race. She could be tiefling. She could be gnome or halfling, centaur even. You know, I mean, just, you name it. So, Jollett. I'll just replace that. Wordspinner. There we go. Jollett Wordspinner. All right, and that's just how easy it is to use Better Backstories to create you either an NPC or a PC. This could also make a great PC. You know, her grandfather gives her a mace from his adventuring days, and she heads out as either a cleric or a bard, or even a fighter. You know, she could be any class, any race at this point. And she's got this nice baked-in story. You know, doesn't have to go immediately to where her mother is. She has to get there first. So, you know, traveling as a wandering adventurer, she gets caught up in other situations, and with perhaps a traveling party, she makes friends along the way, and that's how you do it. That's how a proper D&D game is run. But well, that's it. It's a short one. I know it's different when I don't have images to start with, and I'm not going to bother putting it into the format just because I want to hold out for that till another time. I'm not doing, I think with some of the older NPCs of the week, I wasted a lot of time just trying to convert an existing character into D&D rules, but I'm not going to do that anymore, because Better Backstories is for more than just D&D. It is for all systems. It is a system neutral system. It's a system neutral tool that can be used in any genre, whether it's sci-fi, horror, modern day, historical, futuristic, or fantasy or magic, you name it. And hopefully more people will start to see that and start to use it at their table. It's an invaluable tool. Millions of characters in just one box. So enjoy. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you want to follow us, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Look for Backstories22 on Twitter and Instagram, and keep following along, making suggestions, and stay creative. Have a great day. Bye.